Number 10. Kevin OGAR. On January the 6th of 2014, CrossFit athlete Kevin OGAR suffered a freak weightlifting accident that left him paralyzed. He was taking part in a competition called the OC Throwdown in Southern California. His dream was to reach the CrossFit Games, the sport's definitive proving ground, where the first place comes with a $300,000 prize. OGAR was attempting a snatch, which involved lifting the bar up to his chest and then raising it above his head with outstretched arms. Like many other CrossFit athletes, he'd performed the move countless times before. Unfortunately, something went wrong and OGAR was forced to abandon the lift. He let the bar fall behind him. As the weight dropped, it struck the athlete's back, inflicting a devastating injury. According to his training partner, OGAR's body twitched so violently that it looked like someone had shot him. There was no medical staff on site during the competition, even though the movements performed by the athletes, like box jumps, rope climbing, and lifting massive weights, held the risk of injury. OGAR was rushed to the hospital, where doctors found that he'd severed his spine in the accident. He was told that he'd never walk again. OGAR ultimately adjusted to life as a paraplegic and started training other athletes. His story of perseverance was documented in the film OGAR, Will of Steel. Number 9. Andranik Karapetyan. At the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio, Armenian weightlifter Andranik Karapetyan was having a promising run at the podium. The athlete had finished second in the snatch competition and was hoping to win his first Olympic medal. Heading into the clean and jerk, 20-year-old Karapetyan attempted to lift 429 pounds, which was nearly 3 times his body weight. He'd managed to raise the bar above his head when his elbow bent the wrong way and collapsed under the tremendous weight. He dropped the bar and was left screaming in pain. Karapetyan's Olympic debut came to an abrupt end as he was taken to the hospital with a dislocated elbow. He did eventually recover and return to active competition, winning the Under-23 European Championship. Number 8. John Pyle Sigmarsson. Widely regarded as one of the greatest strongmen of all time, John Pyle Sigmarsson won the world's strongest man 4 times and was credited with developing Iceland's national sports identity. He broke numerous weightlifting records throughout his career and contributed to increasing the popularity of the sport through his energetic and boastful personality. One of Sigmarsson's most famous quotes was, "There is no reason to be alive if you can't do deadlift," which he shouted as he was performing a winning deadlift in a 1987 competition. In a dark, ironic twist, it was precisely this lift that would ultimately end Sigmarsson's life. On January the 16th of 1993, he was training at his gym in the Icelandic capital of Reykjavik. While he was deadlifting, 32-year-old Sigmarsson suffered an aortic rupture. The strenuous movement, combined with a congenital heart defect that had likely been worsened by the use of anabolic steroids, ultimately proved fatal. Number 7. Ryan CROWLEY. In 2021, while bench pressing at a gym in Dubai, 23-year-old Ryan CROWLEY suffered a gruesome injury to his chest. CROWLEY's trainer, Larry Wheels, was assisting the bodybuilder on the incline press. As the bar was lowered towards CROWLEY's chest, his right pectoral muscle tore from the bone. Wheels took control of the weight as the pain-stricken bodybuilder crumbled to the ground. A clip was subsequently uploaded on social media, showing the moment that the muscle visibly snapped from its connecting bones and tendons. CROWLEY was rushed into surgery at King's College Hospital. Wheels set up a GoFundMe in his name, as the operation wasn't supported by CROWLEY's medical insurance. The bodybuilder could only use his left arm in the aftermath, but felt hopeful towards recovery. Number 6. NAYO KETCHANKE. At the 2019 European Championships, French weightlifter NAYO KETCHANKE suffered a brutal double arm fracture. At the event, taking place in Batumi, Georgia, the 31-year-old tried to snatch 242 pounds, which would have constituted a personal record. She'd failed 2 previous lifts and approached the barbell for a 3rd attempt. KETCHANKE screamed in agony as her left elbow buckled and bent the wrong way. She fell to the floor with the weight on top of her. KETCHANKE left the competition on a stretcher, but had already done enough to secure a bronze medal. At the hospital, doctors determined that she'd broken her left arm in 2 places. It was also believed that she'd also dislocated her shoulder, but those reports remained unconfirmed. After only 5 months of recovery, the athlete returned to active competition and participated in the World Championships. Number 5. Igor Golushkin. In 2012, during a powerlifting event, 34-year-old Russian athlete Igor Golushkin was going for a 400-pound bench press. According to local media, he was using a false grip on the barbell, sometimes referred to as the suicide grip, due to the number of reported injuries it has caused. Instead of wrapping his thumb around the bar towards his other digits, Golushkin left it on the outside. In practice, the bar had slipped from his hands, but his spotters managed to catch the weight. Unfortunately, on his subsequent attempt, those assisting him failed to intervene. The barbell, which weighed about as much as a large sumo wrestler, slipped and fell on Golushkin. A video of the incident subsequently became viral online, and it showed the moment that his chest brutally caved in under the weight. He was taken to the hospital with a torn diaphragm and several broken ribs. According to the reports that followed, his condition continued to deteriorate, and he eventually succumbed to what was later deemed as a heart concussion. Number 4. Ed Cohen. In the powerlifting ecosystem, Ed Cohen is often regarded as the greatest of all time, having set over 71 world records. In 2002, Cohen was a defending champion at a competition called the Mountaineer Cup, organized by the US Powerlifting Federation. He was attempting to squat with 970 pounds on his back. The weight is roughly equivalent to that of an adult Arabian riding horse. Cohen looked in control as he went down, but as he got closer to the ground, his right knee suddenly snapped. His right patella tendon snapped so loudly that at first Cohen believed he'd broken his leg. He fell to the ground wincing in pain. The 39-year-old initially joked that the injury would give him more time to focus on his bench press, but for years after the incident, he would struggle to return to form. Number 3. MATTHIAS STEINER. During the 2012 Olympic Games in London, MATTHIAS STEINER had to retreat from competition following an incident in which he dropped a barbell on the back of his head. The German super heavyweight entered the Olympics as a defending champion, having won gold in the 2008 edition. He was in the snatch portion of the competition, attempting to lift 432 pounds. Steiner managed to pull the barbell above his head, but failed to follow through on the motion by pushing upwards with his legs. He fell on his backside and the weight dropped on his head, to the collective gasp of those in attendance. 24-year-old Steiner rose to his feet and was taken to the hospital. He sustained ligament and muscle damage, but no surgery was required as he hadn't hurt his spine. It isn't known how much the incident factored into his decision, but less than a year later, Steiner announced his retirement from competitive weightlifting. Today's topic was requested by Conan Lucas, Ray Retro, and user 124875. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Eddie Hall. In 2016, British strongman Eddie Hall shattered the deadlift world record by pulling 1,102 pounds. To put that enormous weight into perspective, it would be like lifting a full-grown grizzly bear off the ground. Hall's deadlift would become a major milestone in weightlifting, but as he looked back at it in subsequent interviews, he claimed that it almost killed him. Immediately after completing the deadlift, Hall collapsed on the bar and his team rushed to his aid. Blood had started pouring from his nose, ears, and tear ducts. He passed out a second time backstage, and a paramedic had to check on him. Hall believed that he was going to die as he started to lose his central vision. Hall has described a number of injuries that have occurred throughout his career. When he was younger, one of his eyeballs popped out as he was doing close to 2,200 pounds, or about half the weight of an adult rhino, on a leg press machine. He pushed his eye back in but lost his vision for several hours. In another leg press incident, a load of heavy weights came crashing down on his manhood, and he suffered severe lacerations that required stitches. During a strongman competition, Hall was pressing a 485-pound weight when he lost his grip and it fell on the back of his head. Fortunately, he recovered from all his injuries and his deadlift still stands as a world record in competition. Number 1. Alexander SEDYKH. At the 2020 World Raw Powerlifting Federation Championships, a Russian weightlifter suffered a horrific accident. Alexander SEDYKH, a defending champion at the event, was attempting to squat nearly 900 pounds, which is almost as heavy as a grand piano. His legs started shaking on the way down, and at the bottom of the lift, both his knees buckled under the enormous weight. The barbell was caught by his spotters, and SEDYKH avoided further injury to his back. The athlete was rushed to the hospital, where he underwent surgery for 6 hours. He'd fractured both knees and torn his quadricep muscles. Following the successful operation, he shared a photo on social media of the 2 massive scars he was left with after doctors reattached his quads. SEDYKH's recovery would involve 2 months of complete bed rest and prolonged physical therapy that would help him relearn to walk. It wasn't clear if he'd eventually be able to return to weightlifting. Thanks for watching. Would you rather not use your phone for a month or carry around a 40-pound weight everywhere you go for the same amount of time? Let us know in the comments section below.